In a time of great need in Israel, God called a humble farmer named Elisha to follow in the footsteps of the mighty prophet Elijah. Elisha was found plowing his fields when Elijah approached and threw his cloak over him, a sign of divine calling. Without hesitation, Elisha left everything behind, his oxen, his farm, and his family, and followed Elijah to serve God. After years of faithful service, the time came for Elijah to leave the earth. Elisha knew his master would be taken, but he refused to leave his side. As they approached the Jordan River, Elijah struck the water with his cloak, and the river parted, allowing them to walk across on dry land. Suddenly, a chariot of fire, drawn by horses of fire, appeared from heaven, and Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind. Elisha, heartbroken but resolute, cried out, "My father, my father!" The mantle of Elijah fell to him, and with it, the power of God. From that moment, Elisha carried the prophet's spirit with him, beginning his own remarkable journey as God's chosen prophet. With Elijah gone, Elisha performed his first miracle. Striking the Jordan River with Elijah's cloak, he parted the waters once again, signaling to all that the spirit of Elijah now rested on him. Elisha would go on to become one of Israel's greatest prophets, known for his compassion and the many miracles he performed. Elisha's second miracle came when he arrived in Jericho, where the city's water supply was tainted, causing illness and death. With a simple bowl of salt, Elisha purified the water, saving the city and proving God's power to heal and restore. But Elisha's miracles were not limited to healing. When a widow cried out for help, having no money to pay her debts, Elisha instructed her to gather empty jars from her neighbors. He then told her to pour the little oil she had into the jars. Miraculously, the oil kept flowing until all the jars were filled, saving her and her sons from poverty and showing God's provision in times of need. Another remarkable story is that of a Shunammite woman who showed hospitality to Elisha by providing him with food and shelter whenever he passed through. In return, Elisha promised her a son, even though she was old and had given up hope. In time, she gave birth to a child, but tragedy struck when the boy died suddenly. The woman rushed to Elisha, and in faith, he returned with her to her home. He prayed over the child and, through God's power, brought him back to life, displaying once again the mighty hand of God working through him. Elisha's miracles were not only for individuals, but for entire armies as well. In one instance, the Aramean army surrounded the city where Elisha was staying, intending to capture him. His servant, seeing the overwhelming forces, was terrified. But Elisha prayed for God to open the servant's eyes, and when he did, the servant saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire surrounding them, God's army protecting his prophet. Elisha then prayed, and the Arameans were struck with blindness, allowing Israel to defeat them without bloodshed. In all these stories, Elisha's life was marked by his unwavering faith, his compassion for the people, and his deep connection with God. Whether it was healing the sick, providing for the poor, or protecting the nation, Elisha proved that God's power works through those who trust him completely. Even in his death, Elisha's legacy continued. The Bible tells that after he died and was buried, a group of men, while burying a body, threw it into Elisha's tomb. When the body touched Elisha's bones, the dead man was revived and stood on his feet. This final miracle, even after Elisha had passed, showed that the prophet's power was truly a gift from God. Elisha's story is one of miracles, faith, and obedience. From a simple farmer to a mighty prophet, Elisha's life reminds us that those who trust in God can be instruments of His power and grace, bringing healing, provision, and deliverance to all who seek Him.